Today we are factorizing cubic expressions. We are going to use two methods. We shall start by grouping, and in case the question fails to group, then we shall shift to try and error on the factors of our constant values. Now let's group. We have one part, second part, third part, and fourth part. So you can see here we can group the two parts, then we can factorize this part alone and that part alone by taking out the common factor. This side you can see our common factor is x squared, so we keep x squared out and we are left with x plus 1. And if you check the other part, we have minus 4 and we also have minus 4, so we can keep minus 4 out, and inside we will be left with x plus 1. So if you look inside the bracket, is exactly the same as inside this bracket, then we can go ahead and take the outside into one bracket, and the two brackets will form one bracket. Till here we have factorized. However, if we look at this bracket, it has not been factorized completely. And if you check properly, we have a square number here and also we have a square number there. So this tells us we have a difference of two squares, and the square root of x squared is x, the square root of 4 is 2. Hence we shall get x plus 2 in one bracket and x minus 2 in another bracket, and we also bring down x plus 1. Hence we have factorized our cubic expression. Now this question was able to factorize by grouping. We grouped this part and we grouped that part, and finally we got our three factors. Let's look at the second example. Here we can start again by grouping. If you look both parts here, we shall realize x square is common here, and we remain with x. In this part we remain with 2. This side we can see that the common is only minus, so if I take minus 1 out, I'll be left with 5x plus 6. If you check inside the bracket, you realize that the bracket here and the bracket this side, they don't have common values. Hence we cannot continue by grouping. We have to shift to try and error. So we look at our constant values and our value is 6, so we look for the factors of 6. We shall say 1 is a factor of 6, 2 is a factor of 6, 3 is a factor of 6, and 6 itself. But remember, all these factors have got the positive and the minus, the positive and the minus. So all of those will be our possible factors. Now let's start with trying an error by starting with 1. When you substitute 1 here, it will give us 1. When you substitute 1, we shall get 2. Here we shall get 5 and 6. When you solve this, this is minus 11 plus 3, we get minus 8. Hence this 1 is not a proper factor because it did not give us 0. So let's try the next one, and the next one is minus 1. If I keep minus 1 here, I get minus 1. If I keep minus 1 here, it becomes positive 1 times 2, I get positive 2. If I keep minus 1 and minus 5, I'll get positive 5. And finally, I have minus 6. So you realize this is 7 and this is minus 7, I get 0. So I conclude that minus 1 is our first answer for x. Now, in order for me to make it a factor, I will have to bring this minus 1 to this side. It becomes positive 1. Then I will conclude that my first answer is x plus 1. So after getting my first factor, then I have to look for the other factors. So what I'll do is I will have to get this factor and I will remove it from my cubic expression by dividing it from everywhere. So I'll take x plus 1, I divide it from all my cubic statement, that is x cubed plus 2x squared minus 5x minus 6. Now here I have x, I need x cubed. So if I have x squared, I know x squared times x, I get x cubed. Then also x squared times 1, I'll get positive x squared. Then I will subtract. Here I will get 0. But this side to be 2 minus 1, I will get 1 square. I will have to bring down minus 5x. It will become like this. Hence now, here I have x, here I have x squared. So if I keep plus x, then x times x, I will get x squared. X times 1, I will get plus x. When I subtract, I will have eliminated x squared, and I will be having minus 5 minus 1 is minus 6x. Then I will bring down minus 6. So finally, I will put up minus 6, because minus 6 times x, I will get minus 6x. Minus 6 times 1, I will get minus 6. And finally, this will be all 0. So I will conclude now that I have x plus 1 in one bracket, and the remaining there is x squared plus x minus 6. So you realize that I can still factorize more this one bracket. So I can use my splitting method, that is sum, product, and factor. If I check here, my sum is 1, my product is minus 6. So I need two factors. When I multiply, I get minus 6. When I add them, I'll get positive 1, and that is 3 and minus 2. 3 minus 2, I get minus 6. 3 minus 2, I get positive 1. Then I will substitute to replace the middle factor, and I get x squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 6. Split the middle, and I get x plus 3 minus 2 x plus 3. So, and finally, the outside gives me, this is minus, the outside gives me one bracket, and the inside being the same thing gives me another bracket. Hence I get to the other remaining two factors. So I will bring down the one factor I already got before, that is x plus 1, and the other remaining two answers, x minus 2 and x plus 3. Hence we have factorized, and we have got our three factors using try and error method. And actually we had to use try and error because when we grouped the two, we didn't get a common factor in bracket. Thank you for watching. My name is Mr. Ishengoma.